It's Wednesday the 13th of May today, and today we've come to the seaside. We've come all the way, all of about 3 miles down the coast from Cleveleys to Anchorsholme. So this is Anchorsholme Park on the right hand side. I'm just going to zoom in and then you'll be able to see that beautiful view. So from the end of the landmass, that big grey peninsula, I believe that's Barrow Shipyard, the big white building on the end. And then coming round you've got all the beautiful Lake District. That's all the bottom of Morecambe Bay. Sometimes you can see the wind turbines on the hills. That white section of sea wall that's in the centre of shot at the minute is the Russell Coastal Defence Scheme, where we went last week, where we walked along the edge of the sea defences. The egg whisks that you can see stuck up in the air of the cafe at Cleveleys, and that's the rest of Cleveleys Seafront. So I'm just showing you that before we turn around, because today we're going to walk in the direction of Blackpool. When I say we're walking in the direction of Blackpool, we're actually quite at the northern end of Blackpool here. But before we get any further, I'm going to show you this. So we're zooming back in again. Can you see right in the centre of shot there, there's some kind of black thing stuck up in the picture. So if I zoom in again, that is actually the ribs of the Abana shipwreck, and that's what's left of it when it dropped and sank into the sand in I believe the 1600s. So you can see how close it was to the Riverdance, because that was not much to the right. So this is the sea wall that we were looking at last week when we came down to Anchorsholme. We just managed to get past the boundary of Cleveleys into Anchorsholme one of those days when it was absolutely beautifully sunny. So the sea at the time was up to about here. So you can see the steps and the straight revetment back down to the beach. So we're going to walk this way, and we're going up towards the seafront. So I'm anticipating that we will get onto the high bit of grass before we run out of time and video this morning. So this is the beautiful promenade that they've built. Anchorsholme Park is just about finished, which is over at the back of that fence that you can see, but the council have kept it closed until coronavirus is less of an issue, because quite rightly they don't want to get swarms of people coming looking at that new park. And if you're wondering as well why this used to be free parking down here and it's not any longer, it's because there was quite a bit of antisocial behaviour from camper vans and various other people who used to how can we phrase it? Who used to do things that they perhaps shouldn't have done in public in lots of different ways. So in order to put a cap on that and make it a nice place for people to enjoy, the pay and display parking was brought in when the seawall was finished. So if you want to know who to blame, it's them in inverted commas. Plenty of life rings as well, and you need them on here as well. It's vicious, this sea, when it's high. It's not to be tangled with. So that's the old seawall where it joins up to the new one. So you can see as it comes round the corner, this is part of the wall that was there originally. So this bit is all new. These steps are new, but they're only kind of built over the existing. This is all being left, and this is actually where the underground car park was. And you might have come, I think I'm stuck actually. I am, aren't I? You might have come down to that when they did an open day before they filled it in. So where that green wall is, normally you would be able to carry on, but because they're still using the access, we need to come up here, and then we can just walk round that corner. So these little sort of style arrangements in place of the floodgates that we've got up at Cleveleys, because obviously it's a very harsh environment to put things like floodgates. So rather than putting something in that needs engineering, when they built this section, they put sort of styled steps so that there's nothing mechanical and nothing that needs moving. I'm going to say it again. I just can't resist it. I'm going to say it again. Look at that sea. Even though it's quite a bit out and it's fairly low tide, I'll just zoom in a little bit because I'm going to have to show you that. Just look at the colours in the sea. You can see what I was saying about being a little bit higher up, and we're going down here onto the bit where the grassy land lifts up. So we'll be even higher still there, and you'll be able to see down onto the water. So can you see the Shipwreck Castle Hotel, which is that one there, and that's the one that we've kept pointing out when we've been at Cleveleys. We had a talk at the Russell Beach group from a guy called David Evans, and if you're local and you're interested in that kind of thing, you probably know who David Evans is. He's a local heritage guide, and he knows such a lot about local history, and he came and did a little known facts kind of talk for us one day, and he was telling us that the guy that had the Shipwreck built had paid for it. He'd got all the plans, he'd had it all drawn up. Another one of these Victorian sort of investors, and he turned up, came and had a look at it when it was finished, climbed up to the top and threw himself off because they built it back to front. I shouldn't laugh, should I? It's not funny. But they built it back to front with the proper main entrance facing away from the sea, and he was so distressed he threw himself off the roof. It's awful laughing. So this is, if you saw it a week or so ago, this is the Fylde Angling Club that we did. We reviewed an article about a week ago that we'd done, and this is the area where both the United Utilities workmen and the Balfour Beatty workmen had site access, because it's one of the few places where you can actually get down onto the beach. So you can see here that they've used the existing ramp, and the ramp's being extended down onto the beach so that they can get the diggers and the heavy machinery down. So this obviously all needs dismantling and tidying up, which is why it's all being blocked off. But with the passage of time and the getting rid of coronavirus, I'm sure that will be completed. And this is the old Balfour Beatty site office that was used for the Anchorsholme Sea Defence Works. So obviously that needs to go as well. So you can see this here. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Be nice when that's all tidied up. Anyway, that's not our problem for today. So this little road, let me just show you this before we go up here. This little road that I'm crossing now was the little road that went down the side of that pavement, and the gates, well, I think it was more here actually, but the gates for the underground boat store were there. So this is going up on, we're against Queen's Promenade now, and this is going up onto the Seafront walkway up towards the Shipwreck Castle. And it's a lovely spot. It's a shame that the sun's gone at the back of the clouds, because when it's sunny it's beautiful up here. It's such a lovely view. So this is the top of the Fylde Boat Angling Club, top of their clubhouse, and then you've got the footpath and the walkway, which obviously carries on and joins all the way up to the Promenade at Blackpool. So this, can you see down there are 3 people. There's a guy near to the beach, and then another couple walking the other way on a next level up. This is deliberately built in 3 levels as a flood defence to control how the tide affects the land. So each of these levels have got a different part to play in deflecting the waves and trapping waves and then bouncing the water back into the sea. And believe me, on a stormy day, and it doesn't even need to be in winter, on a stormy day it does bounce. I mean, I've driven, you can see where the cars are, so the cars are fairly low down. There's sort of a bump there, and then you've got your promenade as it carries on. And I've driven on the road and seen the waves sort of coming up this high, and it in winter it can just be absolutely horrendous. You just wouldn't believe it, would you, to look at it? It just looks so lovely. And this grassland across the top of the sea wall, it's full of wildflowers. I mean, you might call them weeds, but they're actually wildflowers. In fact, she says, I'll just stop here a second. Can you see that little clump of pink there? It's just starting to come out. And there's some more there as well, look. That's sea thrift. And I'd seen somebody ask on Facebook the other day what that is. And that's a really well adapted plant that grows so well in conditions like this. It's a close, short plant, and it thrives in coastal conditions. You can buy it in garden centres. So if you are near the coast, it's one to buy that. I'm just going to see what that is. I can see a little bit of purple. They're bluebells. If you remember, we did an article about bluebells and all the stuff that comes out in spring. So you can see as well, I mean, I've got bluebells in my garden, and I bet my bluebells are probably that tall. And you can see how short they are because they've been blown by the wind. So along the promenade here, there are various... This is lovely. I'll just show you this on the way past. I've got no idea why it's there or what it means. It's a little sort of a monument. It says, mightier than the thunders of many waters, mightier than the waves of the sea, the Lord on high is mighty. God is always greater than all of our troubles. So I've got no idea who put that there or what it signifies, but it's nice. So on the seafront at Blackpool, as you're probably aware, there are all these little traditional Victorian shelters which are quite nice. So you can sit whichever way around you need to sit, depending on where the sun is and where the wind is. So at the moment, you probably want to sit at that side or the other side, where this chap is on his bike. And then there's these little walkways down to the beach, down to the lower level of the prom. You need to be fit to walk down these because it's easy to pull when you come back up. And there you have it. So that's this morning's walk. See how near we are to the no break now. And I can I don't know whether you'll be able to see it or not, but I can just see Blackpool Tower It's just at the right of the Shipwreck. I'll zoom in. You might be able to see it as we finish. You see it? Just sticking up there at the side of the Shipwreck. So that's today's walk for you. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to pass the link on to your friends. And as this situation unplays, we'll visit lots of different places and see lots of different things. So have a nice day. Stay safe. If you can, stay at home. And we'll see you next time. Bye.